Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a stack of sources that really challenge how we think about power.
We are. We're zooming in on something that's almost always ignored in political analysis.
The physical space itself, I mean, the architecture, specifically how the geometry of a room can shape behavior long before anyone even starts a debate.
It's a beautifully simple idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's so overlooked. All the analysis we see focuses on policies, personalities, the rules.
Right.
But these sources, especially this one piece on the architecture of adversity, suggest the room has already spoken. It's already set the terms of engagement.
So the core of this is the UK House of Commons, which is probably the most famous example of this, well, confrontational layout. And our mission today is to unpack this idea that rooms don't dictate our behavior.
No, they don't force it.
But they absolutely invite it. And in this case, the space is built for a very specific kind of visible, sustained confrontation. The whole thing is designed to reinforce partisanship.
Okay, let's unpack this. I mean, when you look at a picture of the Commons chamber, the message is immediate. It's unmistakable.
It's completely binary, isn't it? Government on one side, opposition on the other, facing each other directly.
And everyone else is just lined up behind their team. There's no gray area. You know exactly where you belong and, more importantly, who you're supposed to be arguing against.
The sources really hit this point hard. They call it a kind of visual rule book. You don't need to read any official procedure to get the dynamic.
It's up there.
It's just there. You compare that to, say, most European parliaments with their horseshoe or semicircle layouts.
Which are designed for more of a shared focus.
Exactly. A shared focus on a neutral point, like the speaker's chair. But here, the focus is entirely on that gap, that adversarial space between the two front benches.
Okay, so we have to address the big objection up front,
Yeah.
right? The skeptical argument. It's just a room. Right. People argue because of ideology, not furniture.
Exactly. And the prime example is the U.S. Senate. It's a semicircle, which is supposed to be a collaborative layout, but it's incredibly polarized, gridlocked. Doesn't that just prove it's about the people and the politics, not the architecture?
That is a great question, and it really gets to the nuance here. We have to distinguish between what causes polarization and what reinforces it.
Okay.
Polarization is, of course, a huge political and cultural thing.
Right.
But the sources argue that while the U.S. Senate has become polarized despite its layout.
So it's working against its own architecture, in a way.
In a way, yes. Whereas the Commons layout actively structures the polarization. It gives it a home.
Yeah.
It operationalizes it.
So the architecture doesn't create the two sides, but it physically hardens them, makes them more rigid.
Precisely. And we accept this idea everywhere else in life, that the environment changes behavior. You wouldn't design a therapist's office to look like a boxing ring.
Of course not.
A courtroom is built for formal distance, a classroom for instruction. Even cafe uses lighting and tables to nudge you. So the core thesis really holds up. Rooms invite, and the Commons chamber specifically invites confrontation.
Okay, let's get into the specifics of that geometry then, because it really is pretty unique among major democracies.
It's completely built for this visible contest. The benches face each other, and they're incredibly close. It's not a comfortable distance.
And there's that famous detail. Here's where it gets really interesting. The story that the distance between the front benches is, what, 2 sword lengths apart?
Yeah, that anecdote, it's often kind of dismissed as just folklore.
Just a fun fact.
But the sources argue it survives for a reason. It keeps being repeated because it points to something very, very real. It symbolizes the intent of the space.
Which is contained hostility.
Exactly. Respectful, contained hostility. It's the minimum distance you need to have an aggressive debate without, it tipping over into an actual fight. It's a design choice that says, stand here, argue with your opponent.
And looking at that design, it's so clear what it's not for. It's not for finding tentative agreement. It's not for shared problem solving. There's no physical middle ground to meet on.
None. The visual focus is always the split. And think about what it means to stand up and speak in that room.
Right.
In a semicircle, you might address the chair or the room as a whole. But in the Commons, you stand and your body is aimed directly across the aisle. You're stepping into a space that expects resistance, defense, or point scoring. The physical act itself is confrontational.
But again, someone listening could say, so what? Democracy is friction. Parliament is supposed to have arguments. Why is a design that helps that a problem?
Because the real question isn't whether they should argue, but what kind of argument the space makes easy. The kind it rewards.
Okay, so there are different kinds of disagreement.
2 very different kinds, yes. The first is disagreement for clarification. That's real scrutiny. It's about challenging assumptions, checking data, trying to make a policy better. It's messy. It's slow.
It's asking, what if we looked at it this way?
Precisely. The second type is disagreement for dominance, for performance. The goal there is just to land a blow, to get a clip for the news, to rally your side.
And the argument is that the architecture is built for the second one.
Overwhelmingly, the acoustics, the sight lines, everything is optimized for those fast, sharp, confrontational exchanges. A long, nuanced, clarifying question is actually quite awkward in that space. It doesn't get the immediate cheer or jeer that the room is designed for.
But a quick, performative attack.
It's a perfect fit for the geometry. It's the ideal delivery system for that gotcha moment.
And this is where that symbolism becomes something more. It turns into, like, physical muscle memory.
It is constant reinforcement. Day after day, you sit down facing your opponents. Your allies are literally at your back, supporting you. You're being trained.
So politics starts to feel like a contest between two big, solid blocks.
It forces that mental model of us versus them. And it's not just the sitting. Think about voting. They physically walk into different corridors, the I lobby or the no lobby. It's the final architectural stamp on a binary choice.
So even if the issue is incredibly complex, with maybe 5 different valid viewpoints, the physical setup forces it to look like two armies clashing. Nuance just, it can't find a home.
It really struggles. And when you try to get cross-party agreement, you're literally working against the geometry of the room. Imagine an MP trying to praise something the other side did.
They have to turn their body.
Right, they had to turn away from their own party, who are all now staring at the back of their head.
Yeah.
It looks awkward. It even looks suspicious, because the whole audience is set up to watch a duel, not a negotiation.
We've talked a lot about the main event, the front bench drama, but the sources point out this has a huge, quieter effect on everyone else in the room.
Yes, on the backbenchers. And this might be the most insidious part. Most MPs are sitting behind the main action. They're listening, reacting, but their moment to contribute might never come, or it might not fit the confrontational mood.
So because the focal point is that back and forth across the aisle, everything else gets pushed to the margins.
It does. The quieter work, the slow consensus building, the deep expertise on a niche subject, it's all sidelined by the physical layout.
So contribution becomes the same thing as being visible at the front. It turns the whole thing into a performance.
Into theater, yes. And if the main chamber is designed for theatrical confrontation, where does the actual work get done? The detailed evidence-based stuff.
It must go somewhere else.
It goes to the committee rooms.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the contrast is, well, it's stark.
Okay, what do the committee rooms look like?
The careful scrutiny, the work we actually want our government to do, it almost all happens in committee. Those rooms are almost always arranged in a horseshoe or around a big table.
Layouts that are built for conversation, not confrontation.
Exactly. Layouts that let people share a focus on a document, on data, on a witness. So the architecture effectively splits the spectacle, which is the Commons chamber, from the actual scrutiny, which happens in committee.
Wow. So society is asking MPs to work together on these huge, complex problems. Climate change, the economy, you name it. We say we want nonpartisan solutions.
We do. We want evidence-led policy.
And yet we literally seat them in a room that's built to stage a duel and reward them for partisan attacks. It's a complete mismatch.
It's the architectural version of asking a surgical team to collaborate while they're standing on opposite sides of a tennis court. It doesn't make cooperation impossible, but it makes every step towards it feel unnatural, like a betrayal of your team.
And it's so easy to dismiss these little spatial cues one by one. I mean, how much can a bench really matter compared to party politics or the media?
But they add up. Over years, over a whole career, the space just normalizes certain behaviors, the fast comebacks, the clear sides, and it crowds out the other stuff, the slower, messier work of agreement.
It happens not because people are shallow, but because, as one source put it, the room keeps whispering the same cues.
That's it. It conditions expectations. The performance the architecture asks for eventually becomes the political culture.
So I guess the key takeaway from this deep dive is just a powerful reminder that behavior never happens in a vacuum. Systems, traditions, and especially the spaces we're in, they all leave their fingerprints on us.
They absolutely do. And it leaves us with this really central, uncomfortable question. This raises an important question. If we changed absolutely nothing else, no rules, no people, no ideologies.
Just the room.
Just the room. How much difference would it make if the space just stopped telling MPs who they're supposed to be fighting? If they walked into a semicircle tomorrow, How long would it take for that muscle memory of confrontation to start to fade?
It's a fascinating thing to think about. Next time you walk into a meeting, a classroom, any space really, just pause and ask yourself, what is the architecture whispering to me? Is it asking me to confront or to collaborate? So what does this all mean for you? We'll be back soon with another deep dive.